What's up guys, Nathan here. Today I'm going to give you 9 simple ways to start quickly winning at poker. If you've been struggling in your low stakes or mid stakes poker games, you're looking for a quick way to start turning some profits for yourself. Today I'm going to give you charts, diagrams, example hands, and everything you need to know to start quickly turning your results around, including exactly what hands to play. Counting down from 9 to 1, here we go. Alright, so speaking of which hands to play, let's start there. Number 9, only play good poker hands. Guys, nothing else in this video is going to make any sense if we don't start the poker hand right by only playing the right hands. So I put them right here on the screen for you. Only play these hands. Pocket aces down to pocket twos, so that's pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, all the way down to pocket twos. Guys, these are some of your biggest profit sources at the poker table, especially aces and kings and queens, and I'm going to discuss exactly how to play those in just a second. In addition to these hands, you also always want to play ace king, ace queen, ace jack, king queen, king jack, queen jack, jack 10 suited, 10 9 suited, 9 8 suited, and 8 7 suited. That's what the S means there. When I say suited, that means both cards are the same suit. So for example, 8 of hearts, 7 of hearts. And what's the most important thing here? Fold everything else. Now guys, I know this is going to sound crazy to some people. People are going to say, Nathan, how can I play such a tight range? I'm gonna get bored. Well, my answer is really simple. Just play multiple tables if you're playing online poker. I've been well known over the years for playing as much as 20 tables at a time because that keeps me busy. By the way, I wouldn't recommend playing 20 tables right off the start. You want to build yourself up, maybe start with 2 or 3 or so. But guys, when you play multiple tables, this is going to build that discipline into your game because you simply don't have time to be playing trashy hands anymore. And of course, if you play live poker, you can't exactly play multiple tables, but having this discipline in your starting hand selection is absolutely crucial to your success. Bottom line, guys, if you take the game seriously, only play these hands, give yourself a strong mathematical edge entering the poker hand, and you're going to have a lot more success. By the way, I would also suggest only doing this at low stakes where most players aren't paying attention and won't understand that you're only playing a very tight range of hands. Alright guys, moving on to number 8, which is to play your premium hands fast. So premium hands in poker, what are these? This is pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket jacks, pocket tens, and ace king. Some people will put ace queen on this list. Some people will put pocket nines, but this is what I consider premium hands. Guys, you want to play these hands fast in all situations. You do not want to be slow playing with these hands. I don't care if you've seen Daniel Negreanu or Phil Hellmuth play these hands super slow and check and pretend they don't have anything. Guys, they're playing in $1 million cash games. I'm going to guess that at least 95% of people watching this video do not play in $1 million cash games. Most people play for relatively small amounts of money in the casino or online, $50, $100. Guys, most players in these games like to call a lot, so therefore you are only costing yourself money by choosing to get all tricky and trappy with hands like these. Guys, just do the most obvious thing. As I always talk about in these videos, just make the most stupidly obvious play at the poker table. Let them overthink what you're doing and thank me later. You're going to have a lot more success. Alright guys, moving on to tip number 7, and that is to value bet them relentlessly. So over my 10 plus years as a professional poker player, I can tell you that this has been one of the absolute keys to my success. Is basically anytime you hit a good pair or a strong draw, you bet strong. Let me give you an example. You raise up ace of hearts, jack of hearts on the button, and a loose player calls you in the big blind. Flop comes down with the 8 of clubs, jack of diamonds, 5 of clubs. Guys, this is a beautiful spot. We have hit top pair, top kicker, but there are a ton of different draws on this board. For example, a hand like 9-10 has an open-ended straight draw. A hand like 6-7 also has an open-ended straight draw, and if they have any 2 clubs in their hand, they have a flush draw. Furthermore, there were so many worse paired hands. For example, a king jack, a queen jack, a jack 10, an ace 8, a 9 8, an 8 7. You guys get the idea. Guys, do not screw around in a spot like this. When a loose player in particular checks to you here, always bet big. Once again, don't get trappy, don't slow play, don't overthink a very simple game of cards. Make the most obvious play possible and let them overthink the situation. Alright guys, moving on to number 6, and that is to always raise pre-flop. Guys, raising before the flop in poker simply improves your chances of winning the hand because you take control, which is going to translate to more profit for you after the flop, as we're going to talk about in a moment. So for example, you've got king, queen offsuit, king of hearts, queen of spades. You should raise it to 3 times the big blind, guys, as a minimum. So for example, if you're playing in a $1, $2 cash game, you want to raise it up to $6 here, because 3 times the big blind of $2 here is of course $6. Guys, take control before the flop. Put the table on notice that you are going to be in charge of this hand. They are going to be a guest in your pot, and you're going to have a lot more success at the poker table. Alright guys, moving on to tip number 5, and that is to target the fish. Now, if I can name one thing that's been more important than anything throughout my professional poker career, it is definitely this, which is taking advantage of the weaker players at the poker table. Guys, I'm not the most politically correct poker player out there. I play this game to fleece the weakest players. I know that's not such a nice thing to say these days for some people, but I like to call a spade, no pun intended. Guys, all the money comes from the weaker players in poker. For example, I put an image on your screen here of my online poker table. I'm using a HUD, by the way, and I'll link that up in the description below if you want to know what all these numbers on my screen mean. But basically, the person in blue there, I blurred out their name just for privacy. This is the biggest fish at the table. They're playing a crazy 55% of their hands, raising 18% of their hands as well. We already talked about what hands to play before. We're certainly not playing anywhere near 55% of our hands. That is absolutely crazy and insane. So this is the kind of player that you want to target again and again. You can probably also notice that I am on the seat directly to the left of this player. This is going to give me direct position in almost every single hand against this player. Guys, in a nutshell, this is how you win at poker. There's nothing really that complicated about this simple little card game. Get on the left of the worst players and you're going to win. They play all sorts of terrible hands. They'll call you down with anything, and they lose their money tremendously fast. This is how to win at poker. I could end the video right now, but I won't. Moving on to poker tip number 4, which is don't expect quick success. Guys, most people expect to win in poker right away, and let me tell you that this happens very, very rarely. I've coached over 100 students to success in the small and mid-stakes games, and almost all of them were struggling tremendously early on. Many of them were ready to quit the game of poker because they were not having much success. Guys, it took me several years before I was ready to go pro. I did not win right away in this game. I had to learn how to take my losses like everyone else. And let me tell you that there is no magic formula to win every single time at poker. It doesn't matter how good you are at this game. Everybody has ups and downs. The game of poker is an endless roller coaster. The whole point is to have more ups on your graph than downs, but you're going to have downs no matter what. You need to be prepared for this, and what I would focus on instead is learning the fundamentals, especially a tag, tight and aggressive strategy. I teach that, by the way, in my free poker cheat sheet. That will be the top link in the description below. All right, moving on to number 3, and that is to do not play in high stakes. So this is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people do not have success in poker, is they immediately jump into games that are full of excellent world-class players that are currently above their skill level. Guys, the easiest way to quickly feel discouraged in this game is to play against a bunch of much stronger players and lose your money fast. What you want to do instead is start at the lower stakes. There's no rush, guys. You can build yourself up in this game. I've talked about on my blog for years that I don't have any shame that I started at the very lowest stakes. People still make fun of me all the time online about this because I played a lot of hands at the 1 cent, 2 cent games, the 2 cent, 5 cent games, the 5 cent, 10 cent games. I was playing $2 tournaments. Guys, I didn't start this game with an ego. I learned how to win at the lowest stakes to start, and this allowed me to get the right foundation under me in order to move up to the higher stakes where the real money is made in this game. Guys, you can play for unbelievably small amounts of money, especially online or even in live games. $1, $2 cash games. There's $20 tournaments in most casinos that you can find. So guys, do not get an ego in this game. Don't start playing in the $1,000 games, the $5,000 games like a lot of other people do. Those games have excellent world-class poker players in them. Start at the lower limits and prove that you can beat the worst players first and then move up the stakes. All right, guys, moving on to number 2, and that is to be aggressive. Guys, I already touched on this one before. Winning poker is aggressive poker. I've also mentioned that so many times. This is an absolute key to your success at the poker table. Most people play poker far too passively and they wonder why they don't win. Guys, everybody gets dealt the exact same amount of good hands, bad hands, and mediocre hands over the long run in poker, and the only difference is who wants it more. Most of the time, when you go to see the flop, nobody actually has anything. For example, you raise up ace queen offsuit, ace of hearts, queen of clubs, regular player calls you, flop comes down with the jack 4, 5, 2 spades. You don't have anything, and the chances are 2 out of 3 times they don't have anything either, guys. So this simply boils down to who wants it more. This is why we talked about raising pre-flop already before in the video, because this is going to give you the betting lead right now. This is going to allow you to lean on them using aggression and getting them to throw away a worse hand. Sometimes they'll even throw away a pair in a spot like this, a hand like pocket threes, for example, if you just make a simple bet here. So guys, always take the aggressive route in poker. As I always say, if you're in doubt, just make a bet. It's almost never a mistake to just make a bet in poker and to give them a reason to fold their hands. All right, guys, let's move on to my number 1 tip to start winning at poker, and that is, of course, to play at the right poker room. Guys, it still boggles my mind that so many players these days still play in tough games versus excellent players who are watching videos like this. Guys, as we already talked about, you don't make the money in poker versus other strong, skilled poker players. Instead, you make the money versus the fish, the recreational players, the amateur players, the weekend warriors who are just splashing around. They play all sorts of crazy hands and they're just playing the game for fun. So guys, you need to know that not all poker sites, poker rooms were created equal. Some of them are well known to have tough players in them, and some of them are known to attract more of the crazy gamblers. So game selection is the most important skill in poker. You always want to be playing in games full of fish. If you use a HUD in online poker, you can just look for the players that are playing 40% or more of their hands. That is the VPIP stat on your HUD. Once again, I'll link up the HUD that I use in the description below. If you're not using a HUD, you can just look for players that are limping a lot, calling down with bad hands, chasing every draw, and so on. I'm sure you've seen these players before. Bottom line, guys, do not get an ego. Do not try to strut your stuff versus other skilled players. Please understand that all the real money comes from the bad players who make the large fundamental mistakes. Finding the right poker room with the right poker games full of fish is going to have a bigger positive impact on your poker winnings than any strategy that any coach can tell you. Guys, I hope these 9 tips helped. Like and subscribe if you found this video helpful, and if you want to know my entire strategy to beat the small and mid stakes games, make sure to grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. All the best at the poker tables. Unless you're on mine, I will catch you next time.